guys, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing the new Becca Skin Love Weightless Blur Foundation. A ton of YouTubers have been saying that this is their new go-to favorite foundation, so I decided to give it a try. They've been saying it's a really good everyday foundation because it's lightweight and it's a medium to light coverage foundation, which is right up my alley. I've been leaning towards lighter coverage foundations just because I honestly just don't have the patience for full coverage lately. On the Sephora app, this foundation is described as a weightless, medium buildable coverage foundation with a velvety natural finish that mimics the look of smooth, healthy skin. So if you're interested to see my thoughts on this foundation, then let's just jump right into it. I have the shade here in Sand. It looks maybe even a little bit dark for me, which is really funny because this is pretty fair to me, but I have not been self-tanning at all because school has been kicking my ass. So I'm going to do half the face with a brush, half with a sponge. I'm going to start with the sponge on this side. Oh, you know what? This actually might be a little bit too light. Okay, so this is actually a pretty light coverage. Or maybe it's just the sponge is shearing out really good. With that thin layer, I feel like if anything, I just evened out my skin tone. Not really any coverage. Blending out really nicely though. It's super easy to blend out. Not sure if it's because I'm using a sponge or if it's just the foundation. Again, it's still a very light coverage. I think I could build this up a little bit. I got a little bit more coverage, but I can still see my skin underneath. But it looks like skin on the skin. It doesn't really look like foundation, so that's a really good plus. I just feel like it's so light for my skin, so it's looking pretty foundation-y. It's not building as well as I would hope it to. Every time I go in and blend it out, I feel like I'm just picking up coverage. That's my problem with picking out foundations online. They look a certain way online, but then when you get it in person, it's just totally off. I can already tell that I do not like this foundation with a brush. It looks so much more cakier, and the parts where I'm trying to blend out, I feel like I'm also picking up coverage. Okay, so that's one thin layer on this side, and I feel I got about the same amount of coverage with two thin layers on the sponge side. So far, I feel like it looks okay, but I don't love it. Between the two, I definitely prefer the sponge side. I feel like the side looks a lot more natural. The brush side, I feel like it looks a lot more cakey and dry and crepey. The foundation is already settling into lines under my eyes. Another big issue I think is just the color of it, because I have the wrong shade and it's so much more lighter than what I am actually. It just makes me look very ashy almost. But even up close I can tell that this is clinging to some of my dry patches. I'm hoping that it will sit better with time as my oils come through. So I'm not going to add any more layers just because I don't love the way that it looks so far. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup and I will check back in with you all. So I went ahead and finished up the rest of my makeup, and to be quite honest, I feel like I like this foundation a lot more now that I've finished my makeup. Like I said before, I usually like to wait a little bit to see what the foundation actually looks like once my oils, like my natural oils, kind of peek through a little bit. So now that it's been sitting on my skin for like 15-20 minutes, I feel like it has sunk into my skin a little bit. My oils are coming through and it looks a lot better. Up close though, I do still see some dry patches, especially around my mouth area, which is a problem area for me usually. Again, in between my eyebrows. I think the coverage leans more towards light than it is medium. So in person, I still see a lot of like my imperfections and my skin peeking through the foundation, which I actually kind of like. As a whole, it looks pretty decent. I feel like it still looks like my skin, even though up close is when I start to get iffy about it. Regardless, I'm going to go ahead and wear the foundation for the rest of the day, so I will check back in with you guys at the end of the day to see how it wore. Okay, so I'm back. It's been about a little less than 9 hours since I first applied the foundation, and as you can tell, I'm a little bit shiny, but surprisingly not that shiny. For 9 hours, I feel like the foundation held up on my oily skin fairly well. This is about as shiny as I would get with most other foundations, so it's not any better or any worse than the average. My biggest complaint with this foundation though is I can tell there's definitely some areas where the coverage has completely worn off. Right here on my chin, some areas on my foreheads, and my lower cheeks, the coverage has completely worn off, but then there's also some areas where it's like caked up, like around my nose and above my chin right here. When I first applied the foundation, I knew my chin area was going to be a problem because it was kind of clinging on some weird dry patches that I didn't notice beforehand. But again, from far away as a whole, it doesn't look that bad just because it is a sheer coverage, so it just looks like my skin, just really dewy. Personally, I like a little bit of a dew because it makes my face look a lot more natural or youthful, not too caked up. But this is still pretty dewy. This is about when I would touch up. So my final thoughts on this foundation, I feel like it's okay. It's nothing too special, but not that bad. But at the end of the day, for $44 or like 48, it's like 44 or 48, something like that. For 40 bucks, oh, I don't know if I would spend that much money on this. Other foundations that I've tried that are comparable to this one, even from the drugstore. So knowing that, I don't think I can justify the price tag that this one has just for an okay finish and an okay wear. That's really all I have to say about this foundation. I wasn't wowed by it, nor was I overly disappointed by it. I feel like this foundation performs like most others on me, so that's really it for this foundation review. I'll probably still play around with it a little bit more to see if I can find a better combination that works with my skin type. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's any other foundations that you're curious about or want me to give a go, then definitely leave it down in the comments below. Otherwise, subscribe if you haven't already so you can come join the family, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!